Hello, Southwest Local Virtual Families and Students. My name is Corinne Hayes, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Southwest Local Schools. In this webinar recording, I'm going to show you how to navigate the Accelerate Education virtual platform, as well as how to log into your computer and the Accelerate platform. I'll also go through our virtual learning expectations for students and what you can expect through this experience in first semester in our virtual learning platform. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. And you should be able to see our PowerPoint presentation that will go through our virtual learning show. This year, we are going to be using the Accelerate Education platform for all of our students in grades K through 12, and we will be supplementing some coursework from the Edgenuity platform. All of our students will be able to log into both their computers as well as the Accelerate Education platform in exactly the same manner. You should have already received an email from your child's teacher or teachers just as an introductory welcome to the virtual learning classroom, a little bit of information about your teacher, perhaps sharing their office hours, as well as some basic information about how to log into the child's computer. And so we use a formula at Southwest Local Schools for all of our students in grades K through 12, and the formula will always follow the same pattern. And that pattern is the student's full first name, followed by the student's full last name, and then at mywildcats.org. There are no spaces in between any of that. So the example student that I'm going to be using to show you the Accelerate Education platform is Johnny Wildcat. And you'll see in the model here on the screen, the formula for his email address would be johnny.wildcat@mywildcats.org. As I said previously, there are no spaces in between any of the first name with the exception of a period, and then at mywildcats.org is all one word. The student's password also follows a formula, and that formula is always going to be the capital letter of the child's first name with a lowercase first letter of the child's last name, followed by their 6-digit student ID, which is also their lunch number. And so for the example that we've used with Johnny Wildcat, the password for this child's account would be a capital J for Johnny, lowercase w for Wildcat, and then his lunch number here I've used 123456. So this is how every student in Southwest Local Schools would log into their computers. First name dot last name at mywildcats.org as the username, and then the password always follows the same sequence: capital first letter of first name, lowercase first letter of last name, followed by that 6-digit lunch number. So hopefully you've had the opportunity to practice logging into the computer. As for Accelerate Education, it is going to follow the exact same format. And so the website to log into the Accelerate Education platform is listed here at the top of the screen for you. It's accelerate.hcesc-southwest.vschool.com. And then once entered into the URL, you'll have the opportunity to enter the child's login information. Again, that mywildcats.org email address with the same password we use to log into the computer. So let me stop screen sharing with you for a second, and I will get back into our Accelerate Education platform so we can navigate together. Okay, so I'm going to open up a new window, and now you should see the Accelerate Education screen. So over here in the corner, I'm going to go ahead and enter the password. I've already entered the email address, johnny.wildcat@mywildcats.org. So I'll enter the password, capital J, lowercase w, and then lunch number 123456. Then we click login. Your child will have the opportunity to autosave this username and password, especially if it's a younger student. I highly recommend that you do so. That way, whenever they approach the login screen, all they would have to do is just bring up those credentials that are saved. I'm not going to save them on this one because we have multiple accounts for administrators. So what you should see on my screen right now is what's referred to as the student app. And this is the dashboard, what every student will see when they log in. You'll notice over here on the left, you have courses, to-do list, and the activity stream. And then all of the courses are going to be listed that the child is enrolled in. Johnny Wildcat is a test student who is enrolled in 2nd grade with Mrs. Hale and with Mrs. Weiss. And so you'll notice that this child has an art class, a language arts for 2nd grade, a math for 2nd grade, recorders, which is a music course, social studies, and a science. All of our elementary students have the exact same specials or elective courses. In K2, they are taking art and recorders, as I said, which is a music course, and then they would have the 4 core language arts, math, science, and social studies. Students in grades 3 and 4 have art and keyboarding, and then their 4 core language arts, math, science, and social studies. And then our 5th graders have art and a scratch coding class, which is a technology class. And then of course the 4 core language arts, math, science, and social studies. So in order to enter any one of these courses, all you would need to do is just hover over the course and click on it, and it will take you directly into that class. Several things that I want to point out on this screen. You'll notice that in the language arts tab that we're looking at here, there are 2 items to do on the to-do list. Whenever the child logs in every single day, there will be different items that are going to be posted to that to-do list, depending on what assignments are coming due that the teacher has scheduled for each child. You'll notice also that there are several icons across the top. You have what looks like a paper airplane. That is the way that your child can communicate with the teacher. What it will do when you click on it is it will open up an opportunity to send an email directly to the teacher or teachers that are assigned to that grade level. So for example, if there are intervention specialists that are working with that grade, you will see the teachers and graders, plural. This format follows exactly like you would send a regular email from any account. So all you would do in this example is, for instance, just put a subject. I'll just say hello to Mrs. Hale. And then in the body of the email, you would go ahead and type just as you would do in any other email format. And so I'm just going to say, this is Johnny. Hello. And then you would send it and it will go off to your teacher. At the end, you'll notice it says successfully sent message. If there were to be a response from the teacher, this would turn into an icon that looks like a little envelope with a number 1, saying that there's 1 unread message, and then your child can click on that and see the response back from the teacher. Other things that are here are, this little icon refers to any notes that you might want to make. What this will do is open up a sidebar. You can go into all the notes that are available for this course. I don't have anything in there right now, but these are notes that you can make for yourself as the student, or you can also send a note to the teacher that way. Announcements at the top, when there is any announcement that's going to come out from the teacher, and it could be something like, hello students, this week's office hours are going to be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 9 a.m. through 11 a.m. or something like that. And it could also be a notice about assignments that are coming due, for example, or any other communication that the teacher might want to share with you. There's another way to access an announcement. If you come over here to what we refer to as the hamburger, it's these 3 little lines in the upper left-hand corner. That will open a menu bar for you. And if you want to see any other additional announcements that are going to be made, I'm going to go back home for a second so we can see this for all courses. There's another little bar that's called communication. And if you open that communication tab, it will also show you the same announcement screens. And as I said earlier, there's nothing in here right now since school has not begun. To go back to that dashboard view, you just simply click on Student App and it'll take you right back to that main screen. So going back into the language arts course, you'll notice here in the to-do list, there's a couple things coming up. The first is an audio practice activity, and this is an opportunity for our younger students in grades K through 2 to learn how to use the recording tools in the Accelerate Education platform. Students use recording tools to be able to allow teachers to hear their fluency as they're learning early literacy skills in reading. And the teachers will walk the students through how to work through all these activities. When you click on it to open it, you'll notice that it opens to what's called the submission screen. And it says right at the top, you record your voice introducing yourself. The activity can be found here. And then it'll open another little screen for submitting the audio. And then simply to upload and submit your work. You can also add any comments that you would like. Once you're finished, you would simply click submit my work, and then it will automatically go to the teacher. The teachers will spend a lot of time working through the platform with the student and will walk through this activity with them, either individually in small groups or even in a virtual classroom whole group setting, so that every child knows exactly what to do in order to submit all the assignments. Whenever there is an assignment due, you will always see this big blue button here that says submit my work. And that's how you would go ahead and put anything, any assignment, or you'll notice that you can add an attachment with this blue button. So for instance, if there's a document that would need to go with it, you would simply click that, and then it will ask you where you want to attach the file from. One other additional item I want to show you on this screen is that you can add a comment. So for instance, here in this big middle box where it says add your comments, if you were to type a message to your teacher, that would save when you submit the work. So if you want to say something like, I'm not sure if this recorded, please let me know if it didn't come through, and then send it off to your teacher would be able to correspond right back with you and know that you were concerned, for example, that that recording did not go through. The way to navigate all assignments in the Accelerate Education tab, you'll notice at the bottom that at the very bottom tab, you have previous activities and next activities. And that's the way that the child will navigate through all of through the lessons, the videos, any activity that needs to be completed, etc. And so once this were submitted, you would simply click next activity, and it's going to take you into the next page, which happens to be what's called the About Me assignment. The About Me assignment is going to be in every single course. Our grade level teachers that have all the subjects, for instance, in elementary, they have the About Me section only in one course, so the student doesn't have to fill it out multiple times. For those of you that are in grades 6 through 12, you will have one for every course if you have a different teacher for those courses. And so you can simply copy and paste the same information, but really what this is all about, this About Me assignment, is an opportunity for you as the student to be able to tell the teacher a little bit about yourself so that the teacher can get to know you a little bit better as a learner. The virtual environment and the face-to-face environment are very different in that we don't see each other in person, face-to-face, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to create those same relationships that we do as if we were in person learning. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard just to navigate a little bit more for you. In the language arts course, you'll notice that all the activities that are listed for this course are going to be here on this main page. There are multiple modules included in every course. When the students first get started, they may only see 1 or 2 open modules, and the teachers do that for a couple reasons. One, they certainly don't want to overwhelm the students by having all those different modules open at one time, but also it will help the students stay on pace and make sure that they're not working too far ahead or getting too far behind their peers in the other virtual classes. And so you can kind of use this almost as an outline view of all the information that's in the course, so you can see what resources are available, as well as what's coming up. For example, in this module, Your Family, you'll see all the different lessons that are in here and what your students might be working on. All the lessons in Accelerate Education include some reading assignments. There are some video assignments that the students will watch a video lesson. There will be some workbook activities for students that are in grades K through 5 that will be completed outside of the platform in a physical workbook. And then there is also additional assignments that the teachers will be uploading to the platform for additional practice, some intervention, maybe some enrichment as well if the child is really doing very well in the program and needs a little bit more challenge. So I'm going to take you back to the dashboard view once again, we simply click this, what we call the little hamburger up here in the left-hand corner, these three little lines, and you can hit your home button to go to the student app, or if you want to go back to the beginning of the course, you will notice that it opens up kind of a split screen for you, where at the top you see just some general information, and at the bottom, those are all the individual course folders if you wanted to jump from, let's say, language arts down to math and work on some math for a little bit. So parents, one thing that you're definitely going to want to look at is the grades app. And in order to see your child's progress, you simply click on grades and you'll notice all of the courses are going to be listed there for you. Since school hasn't started, of course, and this is a test student account, there's no progress that is included in any of this. But you'll see the child's teachers. You'll also see any assignments that have been graded or that are gradable, meaning that there will be a grade assigned to those. And then progress for all activities. So this is almost a comprehensive view of how the child is doing in the curriculum for each individual course. You can also click into each individual course and it's going to show you all of the assignments for that course. So this is kind of a little bit more of a deeper dig into where that grade is coming from. And so once again, you have the two progress bars, the percentage of gradable activities that are completed, and then the percentage of all activities in the course completed. So you'll notice that these numbers are different because the bottom number includes everything in the entire course. So as far as what you will see in this, Accelerate Education uses what we've been referring to as stoplight icons. And so they use a color coding system with green, yellow, and red to indicate how a child is progressing in the curriculum. A green icon, it's going to be a little circle that you'll see here on the General Grades tab. I'll go back to this overview. You're also going to see it in the Progress tabs where all the assignments are posted here individually for the entire course, score, status, for example. And then you'll also see in the overall progress tab, these little stoplight icons. Green means that the child is doing very well. They're on pace. They are performing at grade level, demonstrating mastery as expected. A yellow icon, just as you would see a yellow light on a stoplight, means proceed with caution. So maybe the child is not making quite as much progress as his or her peers, or maybe they're struggling on some of the grade level standards. Maybe they're not logging in as often as they should be, and things we want to just kind of take a break and see what's going on a little bit. A little red icon is going to indicate that we need to stop and intervene. Something is not going well. So it could be maybe the child hasn't logged in for several days, they're not keeping pace with their grade level peers, or maybe they're not performing well on the grade level standards. And the teacher at that point will do some intervention with the child to see what are those academic skills gaps that might be missing, for instance, that's not letting the child progress as expected on those grade level standards. And so those are just some opportunities that you'll have to notice just from a glance how your child is doing by those color coding progress marks. Green, again, is good. Yellow, kind of proceed with caution. And red would be stop, we need to intervene and see what's going on here. So I'm going to go ahead back to the dashboard. There are, in the student app, your child every day will have the opportunity to see any announcements right here as well. So you've got 3 places to see announcements: right at the top, here in the main dashboard view for the student, and then of course in the communication tab. You will also have all 6 courses that you can kind of jump in between. I just jumped into the math course there. And again, you'll notice that for this one, we have all of the modules listed. The teacher has not gone through and singled those out yet because the course technically starts on September 8th. parents, one thing that might be helpful to you is what's called the calendar view. If you want to come over here and click on the calendar, you're going to notice it will open for you all of the assignments that are coming up for all of the classes. Down here, the teachers may change the colors of these so that they can help keep the kids organized. For example, art might be red and language arts might be blue, math might be green, for example. So you would see, instead of all these blue little dots on the calendar, there might be multicolored dots on the calendar. But parents, one thing I want to point out to you is that you will notice that there are some learning coaches assignments that are going to be listed here for the first 2 weeks while the child is getting used to the platform. This is an opportunity for you to go in, even though it lists as an assignment. Don't worry if you don't do it, it's not going to hurt the child's grade, but it is an opportunity for you to get to know the program a little bit and to see what your role as a learning coach actually is in supporting your child through this program. So I recommend that you take just a little bit of time, really the first week of school, that from September 8th through September 11th. The teachers are not going to do a whole lot of hardcore instruction here in the Accelerate Education platform, just like we don't do that in our school classrooms for the face-to-face group. We spend that first week of school really kind of setting expectations for the year, going over the syllabus with the students and letting them find out what the course is really all about and what they're going to be learning in that course for the year, getting to know the students, doing some icebreaker activities, and finding out, really what the child's interests are, and just starting really to build relationships with the kids. And we intend to do the same thing in the Accelerate Education platform. And so the first week really is going to be making sure the kids can log into the program, making sure they can navigate the program, having an opportunity to ask questions of the teacher, and then of course for the teachers and students to really get to know each other a little bit. And so this calendar will certainly help keep you organized, but you will notice that the pace will significantly change after the first couple weeks. And once we get into that really more hardcore instruction as we move through each of the individual courses in the platform. And so that's pretty much it for the platform. It is very user-friendly. The students have the opportunity to jump between classes as often as they want. I'm going to share a sample schedule with you when we get back to the PowerPoint presentation so that you can see what a typical schedule for students in grades K-3, what a typical schedule for kids in grades 4-5, and then of course our secondary students in grades 6 through 12, what their daily schedule might look like in the platform, and really how to make sense of this dashboard and what they can do to set a routine for themselves. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second and go back into our platform so we can go into our virtual learning expectations. Okay, so you should now be seeing my screen for the PowerPoint presentation that we left off at. So once you are logged in to the Accelerate Education platform, you can follow the same format that we just did in navigating that. I did want to stop for just a second and mention that not all of our students are in the Accelerate Education platform. There are a few classes at William Henry Harrison High School that are going to be running through the Edgenuity platform. And those courses are French 3, Statistics, Physical Geology, AP Human Geography, and AP Psychology. So students, if you are enrolled in any of those 5 courses, you're going to be using Edgenuity for those courses, and then Accelerate Education for all of the others. The way that you're going to log into this platform, you'll go to this website here, edgenuity.com/login, but your teacher is actually going to send you a unique login username for the platform. Unfortunately, Edgenuity does not allow us to use the whole username email account like all of the other accounts do. So you will get your username from your teacher. However, your password is going to be exactly the same, which follows that capital first letter of your first name, lowercase first letter of your last name, and then that 6-digit lunch number. So moving on. Let's talk a little bit about our virtual learning expectations. In this particular slide, there's a lot of information here, and it really is all about hours and what a daily schedule should look like as far as how much time a student should be spending on the Accelerate Education or Edgenuity platforms. Really how this is done, the Ohio Department of Education has set these guidelines for us based on the grade bands that the child's in. So for instructional time, for kindergarten, for example, we are a half-day kindergarten program in Southwest Local. And so our kindergarten students should be spending approximately 14 hours per week. That's not approximate, that's what they need to have. The approximation is about 2 hours and 45 minutes per day. For students in grades 1 through 5, their expectation is that they will be logging in 27.5 hours per week, which is approximately 5.5 hours per day. And then for our secondary students in grades 6 through 12, they need to log at least 30 hours a week, which is approximately 6 hours per day. Now, I do say approximate because we can set whatever schedule we want in the Accelerate Education platform. And what is different from our in-person schooling is that in-person goes Monday through Friday from around 8 o'clock in the morning until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on what school you're in. For the virtual learning platform, your calendar actually follows a Monday through Sunday calendar. And so students can log in as long as they meet those minimum hour requirements per week. How much time they log in on a daily basis and what days they're logging in really can be set by the family's calendar. And so, for example, if you're a parent who works Tuesdays and Thursdays every week, and you're not able to serve in that role of learning coach and sit down with your child on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you can only do it Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but then you're able to sub Saturday and Sunday in for Tuesday and Thursday, you can absolutely do that. Same situation would happen if maybe you work every day until 2 in the afternoon, and you know that you're not going to be able to work with your child and log in until, let's say after 4 o'clock every day. And maybe your hours are, 4 to 8 in the evenings, and then you're going to sub in some time on the weekend. You can absolutely do that. The one thing that I will try to stress often in this presentation is that routine is key. You want to try to set some sort of a schedule for your child on a daily and a weekly basis so that they know exactly what days, what times they're going to be logging into the curriculum, and they're going to be able to really have school those days. That's what's going to keep the student most successful. That's going to keep them in that set routine, because if a child decides come January that they want to come back face-to-face for second semester, having that routine in place is going to make things a whole lot easier when they have to transition to showing up for school at the exact same time every day and coming every day, Monday through Friday. And so you'll have the opportunity to decide at home what's going to work best for your family. As long as you meet those minimum hour requirements by the Ohio Department of Education that are listed there in number 1 for instructional time, you're going to be just fine. Number 2 is an additional time log, and I'm going to take you to the screen a little bit later on in the presentation so you can see exactly what this looks like. But every child is going to have an additional time log that they will use to keep hours that are working on school activities, but that are outside of the Accelerate or the Edgenuity platforms. For example, our kindergarten through 5th grade students all have workbooks. And at certain times during their lessons, the program is going to prompt them to log out of their computer, work on a workbook page or pages, and then come back to the assignment in the curriculum on the Accelerate dashboard. And so all of that time spent still counts as school hours. Likewise, let's say a student is a high school student that has Math Excel, which is a digital supplemental program that we have for our high school students. The teacher may assign Math Excel assignments that are going to be outside of the Accelerate Education platform. You might also have independent readers. Everybody except kindergarten has independent reading assignments in language arts classes. And so that could be, something like reading with a parent in the evening, or parents having the child read back to you, or even just taking 20 minutes and going to read a chapter or so in a novel. So that time needs to be recorded outside of the Accelerate Education platform. There may also be research projects or science projects or any other teacher assigned projects that are given to students to complete an educational experience. So all of these things are going to be recorded on a timesheet that you are going to submit on a weekly basis to your teacher that will count in those instructional hours that are listed there in number 1 for you. And so what you'll do is you'll fill out a timesheet, and then you'll submit it either through Google Docs, which is where it's housed, or you can take a picture of that timesheet and submit it to your teacher, email it to your teacher. You can also print it out and scan it if you've got a printer and a scanner at home, and send it in to your teacher. But as long as that time log is in by Sunday evening at 11:59 p.m., we'll then be able to count attendance, count those hours in attendance for your child for that previous week. The way that attendance runs, and I'll talk about this on the next page a little bit more closely, but attendance for a virtual student is actually going to be recorded retroactively, because we will take the log that's in the Accelerate platform as well as that additional time log you're going to submit, and we'll calculate those hours on Mondays to be able to put them into our student information system and report to the Department of Education. Number 3 in the virtual learning expectations is a daily check-in for students, and that can happen in multiple ways. Really what we're looking for is just to make sure that students are progressing, that they are not having any difficulties with any of their lessons or any of the content, that they're able to do the lessons without any trouble, that there are no technology issues that they're struggling with, and just to make sure that they're on pace and to be able to communicate with their teachers to continue that relationship. And so whether the student is either logging into, let's say, the teacher's office hours for a face-to-face virtual meeting, or whether they're sending email communication or even communication through the Accelerate Education platform with that little paper airplane icon, or it could even be a phone call that the teacher just has with the child or with the parent, asking, hey, is everything going okay? Is there anything I can help with? Do you need any intervention or any enrichment if the material is too easy? What we want to do is we want to make this the best possible education experience that we can for our students. And so that communication piece is going to be key as well. So moving on, the teachers and administrators in our district sat down and came up with some additional expectations that were specific to grade bands, and you're going to see a lot of similarities between both elementary and secondary. But really, these are some things that would kind of model what would happen in our face-to-face classrooms as well. And so the first one is reach out to the teacher when you need help. We always say when they're in school, raise your hand if you need help, let the teacher know. So don't wait for the teacher to come to you. Don't wait for those office hours. If you're struggling with something, use that little paper airplane icon and send a communication or make a phone call, and let the teacher know that you need some additional help. Balance time between the content areas. As you're navigating now all 6 subjects, typically a teacher will set the schedule for you, or at the secondary level, the schedule the student chooses is dictated by what bells those classes are offered. And so they don't have to make those decisions on what that schedule looks like. But now in a virtual learning environment, you do. So take time, make sure you're balancing between content areas. You should do a little bit of everything every day, as opposed to, for example, I'm only going to do math on Mondays, or I'm only going to do language arts on Tuesdays. It really is best to do a little bit of all the different content areas every day, and follow the suggested time and the sample schedule I'm going to show you here shortly for each lesson or activity, or even course. Try your best and do your own work. Those are staples in both our in-person classrooms as well as in our virtual classrooms. Move on if you get frustrated. You'll notice that in the sample schedules I'll show you here shortly, we encourage you to take brain breaks often. Learning on a computer is challenging because you don't have that same face-to-face interaction or time away from that screen when all of your curriculum is on that screen. So take some time, take that brain break, go for a walk, get some exercise, maybe go play a game of basketball, or just do whatever it is that kind of makes you happy and gives you an opportunity just to kind of decompress a bit. Find a virtual friend to collaborate with. We have nearly 900 students in the virtual learning platform this year. And so there are lots of kids at every grade level, and your teacher will give you the opportunity to interact with some of your classmates at each individual grade level or for each individual course at the secondary level. So we strongly encourage you to find a virtual friend that you might be able to do a project with, or even just to share conversation about the books that you're reading or the topics that you're learning. As a reminder, our Southwest Local core values, trust, respect, ownership, and leadership, definitely play a part here in a virtual learning world as well. Obviously, trust, we want to make sure that students trust the teacher, and parents, you as well, know that we are trying to give you the exact same educational experience as if you were sitting within the walls of our classrooms in person. Respect is definitely the same two-way street on the virtual platform as it would be in person. You want to make sure that you are communicating with your teacher and that you're taking the time to share any concerns or frustrations that you've got in a respectful manner. Ownership, as I mentioned earlier, you want to take pride in the work that you're submitting. So make sure you're trying your best, you're doing your own work, and if there is something that you're struggling with, you let your teacher know so that he or she can help you. And leadership is definitely a big role in virtual learning because you really are being the leader of your educational experience right now, and you're making your schedule, you're deciding what you want to work on when. You're taking the opportunities to reach out to virtual friends or to contact your teachers. And so all of our virtual learners are going to really grow in their leadership skills this year, and we're looking forward to seeing what that looks like. Treat your learning coach, whether it's your parent, your guardian, your babysitter. Maybe there is a community mom that has decided to take on several different virtual learners and help them through the curriculum, much like a homeschool situation. But whoever that person is, that adult that's serving in the role of learning coach, treat that person just like you would teach your teacher in the classroom and your virtual teacher the same. So you want to model respect for that person, and definitely ask questions as you need help through the program. And then finally, quite importantly, we have administered laptops to all of our virtual learning students. Please be mindful, these are Southwest Local School devices, so you want to make sure you take care of your laptop, and that does include charging it in the evenings so that it's ready to go the next day when you're ready to get back and do your digital coursework. Secondary, you're going to see a lot of similarities here, as I mentioned. Communicate daily with your teacher, reach out to your teacher when you need help, take ownership, don't wait for the teacher to come to you. Again, the same as the elementary, move on if you get frustrated, take a brain break, find a virtual friend to collaborate with. The secondary folks wanted to mention, really be cognizant of those stoplight self-checks. So when you see those icons, the green, yellow, and red that I talked about when we were looking at the platform together, take the time to, just kind of self-reflect a little bit, monitor your own progress, and be cognizant of when you need help. Make sure you're meeting the time requirement for secondary. It is 30 hours. Develop a consistent daily and weekly schedule that works for you to help you stay organized. And when meeting virtually, maintain professionalism and live the Southwest Local School District core values. What we mean by that, maintain professionalism, is that we want you to make sure that when you're having those communications with your teachers, have your screen on, have your camera on, so that the teacher can see you and it's not just a black screen that they're looking at with your name across it. And you would act just as if you were in the classroom corresponding with peers. We'll see that same scenario in the virtual platform, especially when it's a whole group scenario or small group scenario. And then finally, an additional reminder for our secondary students, take care of your laptops. Attendance I talked about a little bit before. I know there's a lot of words on this screen, so I'm going to summarize this because we have talked about a few of these already. So as I said before, attendance is going to be recorded in two ways. One will be the time that is recorded automatically by either the Accelerate Education or the Edgenuity platforms, and parents will be able to see that as well on a weekly basis. It logs all of the hours that the child completes activities, watching videos, going through the lessons, and that time is cumulative as well as per course. So you'll be able to see how much time the child is spending on the platform as a whole, as well as in English and math and science and social studies, etc. So that's the first way that attendance is going to happen. The second way is through that weekly time log that I talked about earlier that you'll submit to your teacher by 11:59 p.m. every Sunday evening. And that's going to be to record all of those additional school projects, independent reading hours, any supplemental math. Elementary folks, for instance, use Zern, which is a digital math curriculum that supports our in-house curriculum. Secondary uses Math Excel. So any of those activities that are assigned to you outside of the education, the Accelerate Education or Edgenuity platforms, you'll log on that additional time log. This question has come up quite a bit in regards to a child that's sick and can't take the time, to log into the Accelerate Education platform. They're not feeling well enough. They've got the flu and, or maybe didn't sleep well and woke up with a really bad headache and can't handle the screen time that day. That's fine. We understand kids are going to get sick. That's no problem at all. You do not, however, need to call into the school attendance line. All you need to do is simply just let your teacher know that you would not be logging in onto the platform that day. And then you can either take the day as an absence day, or you can make up the time any other time during the week and log those hours required. So that is one way that works a little bit differently than in-person schooling, because if you're feeling better that evening and you want to jump on and complete some activities or do some of your lessons that evening, you don't have the opportunity to do that in an in-person school setting, but you certainly do have that opportunity in the virtual learning platform. Absences will be recorded. As I said before, we will be taking attendance and recording those absences retroactively on Mondays following the previous week of submitted time logs. And so absences will be recorded in either quarter day, half day, or full day increments. So let's say, for example, if you're a high school student and between your time on dashboard in the platform and the additional time log that you submitted to your teacher, you only have a cumulative 24 hours for that particular week. So you're missing 6 hours of the 30 that are required per week. So what will happen on Monday is the attendance secretary at your school building will then go in and report 1 day of absence for those 6 hours that were missing. Half days, for instance, would be if you missed 3 hours from a day for a secondary student, or a quarter absence would be if it was, an hour and a half or so of a school day. That's what a quarter day absence would look like. And so obviously, if the child is in elementary school, they only need 27.5 hours a week. Those times would be adjusted a little bit. Also, I will note that if the attendance week is a short week, like we're starting off, for instance, on a 4-day week, that calendar will be adjusted accordingly. So the school hours for this first week coming up will be shortened by 1 full school day, which for secondary, for example, would be taking 6 hours off that 30-hour requirement. And so just so that all parents are aware, if there is no school for in-person Southwest Local School District children, then the virtual children would not be expected to attend that day either. They would have that day off as well. Most importantly, you set the schedule, make sure you're developing some sort of a routine. That is absolutely what's best for your child. But you can really log into this program anytime that you want, as long as you're meeting your minimum hour requirements per week. Your attendance will be recorded as full attendance. The time logs, I'm going to stop sharing so you can see what this looks like here. And we'll jump into the Google Doc so you can see what this looks like. Pardon me for 1 second. Let me go back to this so I can link right to it for you. So the very first thing that's going to happen when you get into your Google Doc, let me make sure I am still sharing my screen with you. I apologize for that. Here we go. Sorry about that. So once you get into your link, the very first thing that's going to happen is you're going to see a screen that pops up that says copy document. Would you like to make a copy of the virtual student time log? And you definitely do. The reason why we want you to make a copy of it is so that you have this document, and then you can either share it from your own Google Doc, or you can, excuse me, you can type on it and submit it to your teacher, or if you prefer to print it and scan it in, you can do that, or you can simply take a picture of it and send it in. And so this is an editable document. So what you would do is you would type your student's name here. So there's Johnny Wildcat, and it is going to be the week of 9/8, for example. And then you'll see in your time log, you have the days of the week across the top. And what I've done is I've already gone in and I've entered that I did Math Excel on Thursday of this week. My teacher assigned me a Math Excel assignment, and it took me 30 minutes. And so that's all you need to do. The directions are here at the top for you. All you have to do is list for the subjects down the side. You'll list under the day of the week that you do it, what activity you did, how many minutes you did it, or if it was an hour, you can simply say 1 hour. And then at the end of the week, you're going to total up for all the subjects. So if I had these 30 minutes for math, and then maybe for ELA, I had 60 minutes. I didn't do any extra in science that week. Social studies, I just did a 10-minute project. And for my specials, I didn't do anything extra. And so now what the teacher's going to do is they're going to take these 100 minutes that are added here in the additional time log and add it to the dashboard time that the Accelerate Education or Edgenuity platforms have automatically recorded. And then they'll submit attendance for you as the student for however many hours that you logged in. And so this you'll do weekly, and you'll submit it to your teacher, like I said, either via Google Docs, or you can submit it by taking a picture of it or by printing and scanning it. So I'm going to stop sharing once again and go back to the presentation. And we will... I've got multiple windows, so pardon me for that. Okay, here we go. Share again. Okay. And so at this point, I just want to introduce to you the virtual staff that is going to be working with your children for first semester, and it could be all year if your child decides to stay in that program. We are going to reassign come probably November, December. We will completely redo the master schedule. We'll send out another parent survey asking if you plan to keep your child in the virtual program for second semester, or if you want to send them back face-to-face. And so you'll have the opportunity to make that decision once again, just like you did in July. And so it's very likely that if you stay in the virtual platform, your child's teacher will stay the same. But if you come back face-to-face, obviously you will probably have a different teacher, especially at the elementary level. And I say that because these folks that are working at the elementary level are only working with our virtual education students this year. And so for kindergarten, Allison Williams, who is normally teaching at Crosby, and Alexandra Jester, who is brand new to us this year, she is working at Harrison Elementary, or will be working normally at Harrison Elementary. In first grade, Brenda Olson typically works at Miamitown, and Kim Dennett typically works in first grade at Harrison Elementary. Meredith Weiss is typically at Harrison Elementary, and Stephanie Hale from Crosby. Winter Talby from Harrison Elementary and Melissa Beidelman, also from Harrison Elementary, will be working with third grade. Fourth grade has our largest number of virtual education students, and so this one required 3 staff members. Allison Decker from Harrison Elementary, Brooke Cole from Whitewater Valley, and then Dana Stafford from Miamitown Elementary. Dana's also going to be working with 5th grade and Bob Bundy from Harrison Elementary. And then our special education support staff, we've got Amy Walters, Cassie Montgomery. Both of those ladies are typically working with Harrison Elementary students. Lisa Neeson from Whitewater Valley, and Jessica Shane is also from Harrison Elementary. And so the special education folks are going to be working with both our in-person and our virtual students. We are also going to have one additional special education support staff for K-5. Mrs. Rogers is working on that assignment right now. Our middle school follows the elementary model for the core. So for math, Mr. Aldrich will be working with all of the math students. For English language arts, Mrs. Duncan and Mrs. Green will be working with all of the English language arts students. Science will be Mrs. Wortman, and social studies is Mr. Parks. Those 5 teachers are only working with virtual education students, just like our K-5 teachers are. However, our specials teachers and special education teachers are working with both virtual as well as in-person students. And so for art, we have Deb Jones, and brand new to us this year is Anna Adams. Spanish is Senora Rudolph. For physical education and study skills, Mr. Andrew Bontrager will be taking those students. And then special education will be supported by Jackie Gill, Christy Georgeton, and Mary Denny. At the high school is in a really unique situation because of, one, there aren't quite as many high school students in the virtual learning platform, but also because of all the different elective opportunities. All of these teachers are going to be working with both in-person as well as virtual students. And so office hours for these folks are primarily going to happen during their virtual assigned bell. But of course, parents, we understand that you may not be able to communicate with them during that assigned bell. So I encourage you right from the beginning to reach out to the teacher and let them know when the best time to reach you or talk to your student would be. And so the staff we have for art, Tara Keller and Pam Kravitz. English is going to be supported by Ryan Carroll, Eric Weber, and Jeff Nienaber. Spanish will be Jennifer Baker. Math, Amy Potker, Maria Clark, Emily Holbert, Melanie Seamer, and Amy Berwanger. Social studies will be Chris Baird, Sean Souders, Connor Thomas, and Phil Deek. Physical education will be both Mike Brossart and Derek Rehage. And then our special education students will be supported by June Hyde, Jamie Agnew, Derek Rehage, Andrew Schlager, Kelly Bill, Nick Roth, and Emily Holbert. And so, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, you should have received an email from all of those teachers notifying you that they are your teacher, introducing themselves, telling you when office hours are going to be for virtual one-on-ones, and also giving you that computer login information. The next slide is primarily about getting organized in materials. Edgenuity, as well as Accelerate Education, did put out a materials list, and they mentioned it as a required list. There are many things on that list that students may not need, depending on, one, their grade level, and as well as the excuse me, the courses that they're enrolled in. And so just so that all the parents know, any textbooks that were required, any readers that were required for 4th grade up through 12th grade, the workbooks for K-5, the district has purchased all of those books for students. And the workbooks are in for all the virtual students who enrolled right at the beginning of the program. We had a lot of students who've joined the virtual platform late. And so an additional workbook order was placed, but those are not in yet. They actually get printed when you order them. So I do anticipate that they should be in about 2 more weeks. All of the readers for grades 4 through 12 are not in yet. They were all back ordered. And I do apologize for that, but one thing you need to realize is that the virtual platforms that we're using, the curriculum itself is primarily the same, regardless of what platform, whether it's Edgenuity or Accelerate Education, or there's another one called School PLP that other districts are using. There are a whole bunch of them that have come out because of COVID. But the curriculum itself is primarily the same, which means the readers associated with those grade levels are classics. And so kids across the nation are reading the exact same books this year. And they're, regardless of where you look, whether it's Follett or Amazon, they're back ordered. And so as soon as they come in, we will let parents know. Of course, you can get books from the library if you've got a library card, and if that's something that you're interested in doing, you can certainly do that. But other additional materials, I've kind of set this up for you as a required supplies, things that we know that will help the children as they're going through the platform, and then some other things that might be helpful. So as far as required supplies, the kids are still going to need to take notes and to work problems out and things like that. So pencils and erasers are certainly going to be a staple. When they're doing projects, crayons, markers, colored pencils, things that will help, whether they're doing drawing or any kind of sketches, projects, etc., that is colors required. Scissors, glue or glue sticks, just basic art supplies, blank paper or notebook paper, workbooks, as I said, for K-5, they are provided by the district. They are a required component of the elementary curricula. AP textbooks are provided by the district, and then there's also a workbook that goes with all the AP programs. And any way of organizing, whether it's folders or binders, but some way that the child can keep their individual courses separate, and keep all required materials or any homework assignments that are going to get turned into the teacher in those individual files, folders or binders. Some other things that might be helpful: counters for our young learners, kindergarten through second grade students. For math, any little tiny small item like pennies, beans, small erasers. Oftentimes if you go to like Walmart or Target, they have these little bags of counters. They're just little plastic, they look like kind of little plastic toys, but anything that they can use to learn how to count, to put things in groups. You're going to see a lot of that in the accelerated education curriculum. Buttons could work. If you allow your child to have candy, Skittles, or M&Ms could be helpful. They may disappear as the kid's learning to do their counting, but of course, anything small will work as a counter. Independent reading books, you have the opportunity to select choice reads, and they can be any books that you have at home that are grade level appropriate, reading level appropriate. You can also get books from the library, or there are digital libraries that our elementary teachers work with, for instance, from Epic or for ReadWorks, that they'll recommend as you go through the semester as well. Headphones might be helpful, especially if you have other people in your family that are working from home, or if you have multiple children that are doing the virtual learning platform. There are videos, and of course your child's going to have that one-on-one virtual meeting time or small group meeting time with their teachers. So if you are able to give your child headphones, that might be helpful if there's multiple people working at home. Highlighters, ruler, grid paper, those are all helpful things to have. But anytime a child needs a calculator, or in geometry, for instance, if they need a protractor, digital tools will pop up on the screen that they can use there. Another thing that's important is setting up a workspace for your child. And this is definitely a part of getting organized. So you want to make sure that you've got a quiet space that's distraction-free for your child or for your children, if you've got multiple that are doing the virtual learning platform. Just a place that they can use as their home base for school every day. A desk or a table is really helpful. A way for them to have all of their materials organized, some sort of a system. At school, they all have, especially at the elementary levels, they have these little cubbies where they keep their folders, their binders, workbooks, or any other materials that they need, their pencil cases or all their school supplies, but they've got a system so they know where everything is, so that when they need it, it's available for them at their fingertips. Managing time and establishing a regular schedule for studies is crucial. As I mentioned before, I'm not going to stress this enough through this presentation, but having a regular set schedule daily and weekly for your child is going to be the most beneficial to them in being successful in this program. And being able to manage time, balance time between courses, giving themselves appropriate brain breaks through their learning, all of that is part of managing time. Keeping up pace every week, that means not falling too far behind in the studies, making sure that they're following those to-do lists that I showed you in the platform from the taskbar, and making sure that they're completing and turning in assignments as they're due. And then finally, this bottom one, I've given you sort of that elementary example, but, of course we understand that every family schedule is different. So, the approximate 5.5 hours of work each day that an elementary student needs, or 6 hours for a secondary student, you figure out a schedule that's going to be sustainable for your family, and then set the schedule and maintain the schedule in that way. The sample schedules that I talked about a little bit earlier, the one that we've got here is for students that are in kindergarten through 3rd grade. And so you'll notice the day is going to start and end in a similar fashion, and that's with what we call either the morning meeting or the afternoon meeting. And our teachers do this with students every day. It's kind of that time for them to really set the pace for the day, talk about what the goals are going to be for the day. It would be an opportunity to maybe review what they learned the day before, talk about things like, what day is it, go over the weather, talk about what they're going to be learning that day, and even just spend a little bit of time just kind of with icebreakers. That's a great way, just a quick 10 minutes to get started and sort of get the child in the right frame of mind for getting into the studies. And then you'll notice there is going to be specific time designated for each course. So for language arts, we recommend 60 to 75 minutes, and that would include that independent reading time. And then after language arts, go ahead and take a brain break, have a snack, maybe go for a short walk, play a game, close that computer, take a break away from the screen so that you don't spend too much time on screen time all day long. Then get back at it. For math, you want to spend at least 45 to 60 minutes. In our classrooms, we spend 60 to 65 on math, but that includes time for what we call skill building, or RTI time, to make sure that students' skills are on pace with where they should be for their grade level. And then take a break, have lunch, free play, take recess, just like we would do at school, social growth period at the middle school, and then come back at it. For science, about 30 to 45 minutes, and then take a brain break. Social studies, about 30 to 45 minutes, then take a brain break. And then the afternoon would be left for those electives or those specials at the elementary for about 30 minutes. And then finally close down the day with an afternoon meeting where you reflect on the learning for that day. Maybe ask the child what the favorite thing they learned that day was, what goals were met that were set at the beginning of the day, and then take a few minutes to set goals for the next day. 4th through 5th, excuse me, very similar. You'll notice it's going to start with a morning meeting and with an afternoon meeting, just like K3. And then the time breakdowns for language arts, math, science, social studies, and electives with brain breaks and lunch or free play, recess, etc. through the course of the day. So very similar to K3. Grades 6 through 12, what we recommend here, instead of giving you kind of a sample schedule, the best advice that I can give you is to follow your child's normal bell schedule at school. At the middle school, classes are 60 minutes long. At the high school, they're 50 minutes long. And then there's usually about anywhere from a 3 to 5 minute passing time between each of those classes. So in the virtual world, what we would recommend you do is spend, again, about 50 to 60 minutes per subject, but then between subjects, take a 5 to 10 minute brain break. Have a snack, maybe go for a quick walk, or just close that laptop down, take a break, give your eyes a break from the screen, and then get back at it a little bit. Make sure you take some time, take at least about 30 minutes for lunch, and then take, anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes a day to get in some physical activity. Like I said before, go for a walk, go for a bike ride, shoot hoops, whatever it happens to be, just a time to kind of give your eyes a rest from that computer, get active, so that you can, keep yourself healthy while you're going through this virtual program. And then finally, parents, some resources for you. The Accelerate Education platform has really spent a lot of time in putting together some learning coach resources. And I did have this on the Southwest Local Schools curriculum page for virtual instruction. So some of you may have seen these resources already, but if you haven't, I highly encourage you to take a look and see what's there. There are videos there for you. They've got information broken down by grade bands for elementary, middle school, and high school. And there's just an opportunity for you to really get to know the platform a little bit. We also know that a resource everybody's going to need is a tech help desk. Anytime during the semester that you have any technology issues, maybe your account's not working, you can't get into the computer, your email and password aren't working, your Accelerate Education account's not working, or maybe you're having some issues with your laptop itself, your screen's freezing, or your charging cable's not working, or maybe you've broken a key, whatever it happens to be, the link that's here for you will actually take you to a form that you can fill out, and our IT staff will get back to you within 24 hours. Some things they'll be able to fix for you remotely, but of course, if your laptop itself needs to be repaired, you may need to bring your device in. But we do have loaner devices that we'll give to you in the meantime. So you bring your device in to be repaired, they'll give you a loaner so you can take it right back home and just continue right on with your virtual platform. And then the IT department will call you when your laptop is ready to be picked back up once it's fixed. And so please take advantage of that help desk system. In the event that you cannot get your issue resolved in 24 hours, please reach out to your child's teacher or call the school principal, and we'll get on it and find out what's going on. And then finally, the Accelerate Education platform itself, if you're experiencing any difficulty with the platform, let your teacher know. There's a communication tree for Accelerate Education, and the primary contact is the teacher. And then once the teacher will notify me, and then I contact Accelerate Education, and we get our issue resolved, whatever it happens to be. I am the virtual learning coordinator, so I'm the one that's going to be enrolling all the students in courses and making sure that they're in the appropriate courses. And so, believe it or not, there's been a lot of shuffling this past week, which is one of the reasons why we waited to send this webinar out to you until today, because even, we had probably about 20 students between Thursday and Friday that just moved from face-to-face to virtual. And so getting all those students enrolled in the appropriate classes and then balancing the classes, we did have to switch some students between teachers. So we want to make sure that when we roll this program out, that it is as seamless as possible, that it is the exact same experience a student would have, whether they were face-to-face or in the virtual classroom. And so parents, I think most importantly, the last thing that I can ask of you is knowing that this is a brand new experience for Southwest Local Schools, for our teachers participating in this program. Really, it was like us building a brand new school. Please grant us grace. We know that there's going to be some bumps in the road. We've never used this Accelerate Education platform before. Edgenuity we've used probably for about 8 years. We're quite familiar with that. But at the elementary level or at the middle school level in particular, we've never had a virtual learning platform in place. So, by all means, please let us know if you've got concerns or if there's anything that we should know that's going on with your child. Definitely let us know if your child needs additional intervention, supports, or if the program is not challenging enough for them and they need some enrichment opportunities. Please let us know if there's anything in addition that we can do to make this the best possible experience that it can be. If you have any questions at all as we go through the program throughout the entire semester, you can contact your child's teacher, contact your child's principal, or you can also contact me directly. I'm in charge of everything relating to curriculum and instruction. That's my role with the district. And so, if you've got any questions that you want to specifically have me answer, I've given you my email address in this presentation, as well as the district office phone number. And so that's about it for the webinar presentation for our virtual learners and the orientation to the new Accelerate Education platform. If you have any questions moving forward, please reach out to your child's teacher. And I also want you to know that in about 2 weeks from now, I'm going to host a live question and answer session for any questions that pop up once you and your child get feet wet a little bit with the program and get familiar with the program. As you have questions that pop up, maybe jot them down, and we'll post on the school website and send out a school messenger when that live question and answer session will be. It'll be a virtual format via Zoom so that everybody can access it. And I'll be able to answer those questions at that time. So thanks very much for taking the time with me on this webinar. And I wish you and your child all the luck and success through this virtual learning experience. Thank you.